What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's episode 2, the Santa Barbara Group podcast. I'm Avi Becker alongside my co-host,
Joe Parker. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We're excited to bring you another episode here, diving deep into the Santa Barbara real estate market and also all things Santa Barbara going on, things that catch our interest and the things we love talking about, things going around town. Food. We love talking about food. We love what's going on in the real estate business. So we're also going to have a special guest today. We've got someone coming from the Independent, Sarah Sinclair, our very own account executive who's running the real estate advertising department. If you haven't noticed, when you flip over the Independent, upside down, they have a really incredible real estate section, an award-winning real estate section, which we love to advertise in our new listings, and we have a regular ad in there as well. And we're going to find out about what's going on over at the Independent, our local newspaper.
Yeah, first time having a guest. We're stoked to be here. If you're first time joining the podcast, whether you're watching on my YouTube channel or whether you're on Spotify, we're so glad to have you here. We love answering all the comments and getting inspired about what you guys want to hear about next, or what maybe local gems that you found, whether you're local or whether you're from out of town. I was looking at your YouTube that we launched the other week. We had people from Perth, Australia. We had someone from Dubai.
Dubai checked in.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people from England. There was Helsinki the
Yeah.
other day. We had someone chime in, and now it's becoming a thing since we're shouting out people from their areas. They're logging where they're watching from, so it's becoming a little thing where people are raising their hand from different parts of the world, checking in with Santa Barbara real estate.
Yeah. Every week, Joe is putting out a channel, doing drive-alongs. We just filmed Hope Ranch. We do Montecito oftentimes. I'm putting out some drive-along videos as well as other Santa Barbara content. So no matter how you found us, we're just stoked to have you here as part of the community. And on that note, Joe, do you want to get into some of the news that we want to talk about? What's new and what's going on in Santa Barbara?
Yeah, keeping it kind of real estate themed, recently I've noticed that there's a lot of big projects in the books, in the works. We're under a crunch to build housing. There's a state mandate for counties like Santa Barbara and all the counties in California to build more housing, have a plan to build more housing. And so developers are stepping up. And right around our office, we're on Upper State Street up here. So we got a bunch of stuff slated to be coming in over where La Cumbra and Macy's are. And then also over at the Sears building where there's 442 apartment buildings scheduled to be built there.
That's right.
And it looks like an Orange County designer who, in fact, I learned was the same designer of Estancia over here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they got shut down. This is their second rendition. The Board of Review didn't like the design. They had a lot of things to say about it. But knowing that Estancia, I felt, was very nice. I thought for density, they did a great job. It kind of captured the Santa Barbara essence. So we know they have the ability to bring in that kind of more high design, but I'm sure it costs more money. And they try to go in maybe with something that is close, but maybe not quite there. So it'll be interesting to see what that comes back at. With regards to the design of that and the number of units. But definitely we are in the path of a lot of new construction in the next 5 years or so right up here in the Upper State Street corridor around La Cumbra. So it'll be fun to see what happens there and keeping an eye on those things.
Yeah, and we talked about this in last week's podcast, where the nice thing about these units, even though 443 is a lot, is that they're reusing old space and parking lots and things that are already there, so they don't maybe have to go into nature preserves or undeveloped land, but it definitely is going to be higher density. And we were looking at the renderings. I'm going to also make sure to use the link in the podcast description so you guys can check out the renderings. They're on the santabarbaraca.gov. And the first page looks pretty nice. And then as me and Joe were scrolling down, Joe made a really good point. He's like, if you looked at the kind of zoomed out piece, that it kind of wasn't, you weren't able to tell if it's, this looks
industrial
like,
building or like a hospital, or it wasn't distinguishing. It's distinguishing itself as residential, really.
Yeah.
And Santa Barbara's strict about that kind of stuff, so
probably
they'll
one of
definitely
the strictest counties. I
yeah,
feel like in
have
California.
to go back to the drawing board on this one a bit. But that one. There's also the big news of the one behind the Mission, which has been getting lots of pushback. But they're finding ways to navigate, and they're very litigious. They've sued Santa Barbara, the city of Santa Barbara, twice now. Then most recently, when the state introduced some new guidelines that it would have to go through environmental impact review before it was able to navigate around it. That has also triggered a new lawsuit against the state and Santa Barbara. So that one will be interesting. I think it's still going to have a lot of headwind, but That's some of the development news we've been tracking that's been going on. Some other things we've been talking about. We noticed that in Montecito, Manning Park, in 2023, the tennis courts were shut down because they were getting cracked and old and everything. And so they got some funding, a little over $500,000 to build new tennis and pickleball courts. So there'll be another place to play pickleball, not just on Old Coast Highway, which is the main place right over there. Those municipal courts have attracted a lot of the pickleball players out there, but now there'll be a couple more courts to play on in Montecito, which should be popular. I know people love pickleball, and it's been kind of a thing where when people in the neighborhoods of Montecito that have private tennis courts convert to pickleball, it's kind of a loud sport. And so the neighbors around it don't really like hearing the tick tack of the ball going. So that will be nice for some of those owners maybe to think that maybe they'll go play elsewhere. But I think in general, it's just going to give people who don't have their own court a new place to play and get into the sport, and great way for the community to get around and meet over a game of pickleball.
For sure, and I feel like pickleball is taking over. I go and play tennis at the courts right by the city college, and I think that's one of the great things about Santa Barbara is there's a lot of free courts, municipal courts, a lot of access for tennis lovers, and it's funny because like at first it was like one court kind of seemed to be taking over for pickleball, and now it's like two courts, and it seems like the pickleball community is kind of exploding. I played it a couple times, but I'm not super into it yet. I'm more of a tennis guy myself, but I mean, it's interesting to see that pickleball is taking over. We're seeing in like the spec renovation properties, like that one we just saw in Hope Ranch. That court is designed for pickleball.
Right.
It's definitely, I feel like, the new hot sport. So
well, and thinking about that, there used to be paddle tennis was kind of like the smaller version of tennis where they use a wooden mallet, just like pickleball. But then they would take a tennis ball and puncture it with a needle so that it's not a vacuum seal anymore and it's less bouncy. And so that was the way that they played paddle tennis, which seems to have just disappeared now that pickleball's here. But the quietness of that, I think some people would appreciate. So maybe paddle tennis needs to come back and challenge pickleball.
Okay, next up, I was reading, this doesn't apply maybe as much to some of us who live here in Santa Barbara, but for sure some of us who are in North Santa Barbara County, you're talking about someone in Lompoc, talking about SpaceX and talking about the rocket launches. And what I read is that the Federal Aviation Administration is ordering a restriction of the commercial space launches due to nighttime hours. And there's been a lot of back and forth on the type of regulation they should have, as there's huge sonic booms in certain areas. You can hear it. I've even heard it in Santa Barbara a couple times. And there's a lot of like light pollution, and I mean it looks kind of cool, but I don't know what I think people are mostly upset about the noise, right?
Yeah, I think it is the noise, and I haven't noticed the sonic booms where I'm at recently. I think once or twice I've heard them, and it could be because the booster's landing on a barge out in the ocean, and maybe if they try to bring the booster back to Vandenberg on its way back, it gives a sonic boom for the community. I know a lot of other people, and it could just be like maybe property south of where I live hear it more than where we get it. There could be just like a certain boundary of where the sound hits as the thing's coming back into the atmosphere. But honestly, I haven't heard a lot of the sonic booms, but I heard of people talking about it. I hear a little bit of the rumble, and interesting story, the community up in Lompoc, it is really loud when it goes off. And a friend of mine was talking about how her dog freaked out and jumped over a 6-foot fence and got hit by a car. The dog was okay. It had to go to the vet, but everything was okay. It survived in full recovery and everything. But man, how scary to know that these things are going off regularly, and it's not just the humans that are freaking out, but the dogs freaking out because of the noise. So that's super scary, and it gave me a whole nother perspective on this whole thing. Yeah, it is kind of cool and pretty, but it's definitely having an impact. I know that's more North County as far as how loud it can really get, but we notice it here. The rumble still happens.
I wonder I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but maybe at like the height or how many rockets are launching. Is it multiple launches a week? One a week? I have no. Let me know from the comments if you know what the kind of the maximum launches they're doing, because I know that I feel like it's ramping up more and more and more.
Yeah.
Obviously
you have. They gotten a permit to do more. I don't know how many. I think one a week would be kind of a lot. I don't think they're doing that much, but they're probably aiming for it. I know they want to just keep pumping those things up and get more Starlink satellites up there in the sky.
If you know the ins and outs on the rockets, or if you live in an area where you hear it, I'd love to hear it from the comments, kind of how it's affecting you or what you think of it, or maybe I bet there's some inside knowledge on the back and forth. I feel like people are kind of who are getting really affected are trying to shut it down or at least regulate it to where it's not affecting their life day to day.
Yeah, not letting them expand so they do it more and more. I think try to keep a cap on the number that they do is going to be the ultimate goal. So yeah, that's interesting for sure.
Keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Another thing, this over on De La Vina. So if you know where State Street breaks off to De La Vina before Trader Joe's over there, and there's a Starbucks right on the corner. There's that little motel on the right, just below the edge of the Samarkand neighborhood, and that is slated to become 32 studio apartments for people, full-time apartments, but I think aimed for low-income people getting out of homelessness into housing through the Santa Barbara Housing Authority. So this is actively being converted so that they're probably putting in full kitchens, proper heating systems. They'll have a nice studio place right there, very central, very easy to walk or get around by bus or bike, and a great step Santa Barbara has made and is making towards finding solutions for the unhoused population. So that's really cool. We got the tiny homes down there on, was it Santa Barbara Street near Figueroa?
Right by my house.
Yep, and so that was a huge success, I think, and there's more being built up near where Hollister, over by Hollister and Modoc. I think a section over there, some land that they're going to be building a bunch more, or it might already be open. And then this is just another drop in the bucket of adding these smaller, affordable living spaces that really help people who just need something small, affordable to get off the streets.
Yeah, and I mean, there's even, I don't know what's being built right by our office. It's affordable housing, but I think it's a different style. It's, I think, 47 units.
Yeah.
I feel like Santa Barbara's really paving the way, doing a lot of, unique, creative solutions, and I bet other communities and counties are looking at us to kind of lead the way on both, homeless population and also affordable housing for, I think those ones are more for, like, working professionals,
middle income.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So it won't be like the people who are moving out of housing insecurity, but those who maybe have to live in Lompoc or Santa Paula or Buellton because they can't afford to live where they work, and this will give them an opportunity to live here locally, which is super important because
For sure.
Santa Barbara, we figured it out, like when there was the flood and the freeways got closed off for a while, how much of an island we are and how much of our population commutes in. And when we can't get the population in, it becomes desperate around here. And that is only getting amplified as things continue to get more expensive and, we get the middle class not able to live here. It's hard to find the individuals that are going to be of service in all the different industries that, people with a lot of money need, especially the older demographic, when they need health care and they're looking for meal service and all these different things. All those workers have a really hard time living here locally where they're supporting the population with the work they do. Now we're really excited because we've got a special guest, the first guest on the Santa Barbara Group podcast. We got Sarah Sinclair from The Independent here joining us today. Independent, if you've been under a rock in Santa Barbara, you may not have noticed, it's our weekly newspaper, free all around town. Obviously, we have copies here in the office, but every coffee shop, all kinds of newspaper stands around town. And it's really, if you want to plug into everything going on in Santa Barbara, the news of the week, the local stories, the new local businesses, great editorials, and a world-class real estate section, then you're going to want to get your hands on The Independent and make it a regular part of your day. And so we love the newspaper. We advertise in it regularly, and then also our new listings we love to put in there and promote them when we launch them. And Sarah is our contact for that. She's always out working with all the real estate professionals in town, making sure that they're plugged in with the number one source to get the information out there in a newspaper here in town. So, Sarah, thank you for being here.
Thanks for jumping on, Sarah.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Avi. I guess I didn't realize I was your very first guest. I mean, you guys always make me feel special, but that makes me feel even more special.
Yeah, this is episode 2, and on the first episode, it was just us, and we're like, all right, it's time to bring on guests. So
let's start at the top.
Let's start at the top.
Exactly.
That's right.
We're setting the bar high.
Yeah. Well, you gave a great intro for The Independent, and I guess if you want me to, I can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, please. Let's hear about it.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the Independent is free all around town. So we are at over 650 locations, and that's from up through the valley into Lompoc a little bit, and then down all the way to Ventura, a little bit in Ventura and Ojai, but mostly we cover this short Santa Barbara County. And we started 40 years ago. Perfect timing because November of 1986 is when the Independent was founded. So we're celebrating in a big way our 40th anniversary.
Wow, I can't believe it's been 40 years.
I know. Some people will remember it was the Weekly and the News and Review that combined in 1986 to become the Independent. And it was November, like I say, of that year. And the team at the time decided that what they wanted to do for the very first issue was celebrate a lot of the little known heroes in town, people like your friendly grocery clerk or the people who really give their heart, go above and beyond their jobs to make the community as special as it is.
The fabric of the community.
Yeah, and so that issue is still around today. This will be our 40th annual, what we call our Local Heroes issue. And so that comes out on November 27th. November 26th.
Okay.
And that's Thanksgiving week. And so we're gearing up for that and a lot of other fun things to
nice. And people in the community, how does a local hero get recognized?
Yeah, they get submitted, or submissions come in all throughout the year. And sometimes if it's, say, a yoga teacher who does something super special, a lot of their clients or students will apply. A lot of times it's a teacher who, everyone knows every single teacher works so hard, but someone who goes above and beyond, and so they'll get parents or people in their classes. And sometimes it's things like, and I don't want to give anything away for this year, but I did see some of the nominations, but someone who does a heroic act and saves someone from a fire or something like that. So sometimes we get nominations, from first responders or authorities in town.
Are they surprised, the people that get nominated usually, or do they know? Are they campaigning or?
No, they're not. These folks are not campaigning, and they are surprised when they get the phone call. Our editor-in-chief, Marianne Partridge, personally calls all of the people who are selected, and you can imagine we get. I think this year there were almost 100 submissions, and we whittle that list down, and it ends up being. We say 20, but it's usually 21 or 22 people that are local heroes. So Marianne calls them, so they know they have an interview, or a reporter interviews them and writes about them. And then we have a luncheon that is the Local Heroes Luncheon. Some of them don't know that they will be asked to stand up and speak for a few minutes.
Wow.
And some of them, it's the most, for me, it's one of my favorite days of the year at the Independent, because that luncheon, you can just tell that these people all have amazing stories, and they really are not used to the limelight. So it's people that are usually just
probably scared.
Yeah, some of them are. And
that's nerve-wracking.
Some
Public
of them
speaking.
don't show up.
Right.
Or some of them almost, you can tell they're there with their partner or their husband, and the person will have to kind of push them up. So that's Local Heroes, and that's coming up. And I mention it because it is, it's in keeping with our 40th anniversary. And we have a lot of other exciting things happening. Well, all the time. There's always something happening.
You just had Best of, right?
Best of Santa
That's
Barbara.
always a big push. I know, like my gym I go to, lots of campaigning going on.
Yep.
Every sales meeting here, Randy Freed's always the one who's like, make sure you're nominating Berkshire Hathaway. He's like banging the drum and all that stuff. So that's really fun. It's good for the community to see some, you see some regulars and then some new businesses pop on there, huh?
Exactly. There's always a few what we think of as upsets, people that have, categories that have been number one for a long time, and, donuts, pizza, things like that. There are upsets.
Any upsets this last issue?
Yeah. I don't know how much I should name names, but
okay.
yeah.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
And I will mention it because I love their pizza. Bettina's was pizza, was best pizza for the first time, and there were a few shakeups in the real estate.
Who did they dethrone?
Rusty's, and we all love Rusty's.
Oh, I
and
love
Rusty's
Rusty's.
is local too.
Yeah.
Style,
exactly.
yeah.
Totally different.
That is exactly what my son said when he was here visiting. He grew up here and grew up with Rusty's.
Yeah.
He went, well, it's just a two.
They have a signature taste. Something about like their crust and sauce, and then their ranch, of course, is like second to none.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a Santa Barbara thing, ranch on pizza, but I mean,
It's a Colorado thing too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, ranch was from Santa Barbara.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Hidden Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that they use that mix, but they actually make it with like buttermilk. like you get the powder and stuff, but
Mhm.
I was getting the scoop on how they it is Hidden Valley, but it's their own
Yep.
little concoction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good.
I have a
Yeah.
question to ask, and because obviously Santa Barbara is such a community-focused town, the Independent I feel like has become the like community newspaper, and obviously there's other newspapers, and there's still other. I'm not gonna say what other ones, but there's other news. But I feel like people really come to the Independent for like that community feel. I know you guys do like Burrito Week and Burger Week, and I feel like you guys are the most community collaborative out of any type of news source or paper. So what has steered that? Has it always been that way, or I'd like to know kind of why how did the Independent become like the community heart for the news and for a resource?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Avi. And let me answer it a couple different ways. I would say that newspapers in general, if you go back in time, newspapers, and believe it or not, like the classified advertising part of newspapers, before there was Craigslist, before there was Monster, before there was the internet, the newspapers were sort of a community bulletin board where you could find out what was going on, like you said,
Totally.
events, and also, who lost their dog, things like that, and helping people. So newspapers, community newspapers specifically, have always filled that function. And then, things have changed with the advent of the internet, et cetera, et cetera. The Independent specifically, and I've been at the Independent since 2014, and I did work at the daily newspaper for 20 years in the past. So I had that history right out of college, working at the News Press. The Independent really has taken over that limelight as the community paper in a couple of different ways throughout the years, but also the Independent chose to be an audited, which is, it's newspaper lingo, but it's a real technical audit. It's unusual for weekly newspapers to be audited, but the Independent about 20 years ago decided to become audited so that they could become the paper of record, and I say they because it was before my time. And so that's been an unusual way that the Independent has sort of legitimized itself. We also, we have the largest news department in the county. We have, more journalists who have won more awards for their work. So the news part of it is there. And then we really, before my time and since, we've really tried to stay in touch with the community. And I'm the advertising director. That's what's on my business cards. And so my job is to keep the revenue coming in that keeps the newspaper afloat. But we also really prioritize projects, like you said, Burrito Week, things that we don't make much money on, but that are just really fun. And the advent of social media has made that more interesting and more fun. And we just love it. I love it when I'm out in town and people will go, "Oh, you work for the Independent?" And they might say, "I learned about this this play that I'm going to this weekend," or "My friend was featured." But more often than not, too, they'll say something like, when is Burger Week coming up?
Yeah.
Or why don't you guys do a Sandwich Week? And we did start Sandwich Week this
Let's
year.
go.
Yeah,
But
nice.
yeah, so it's that community feel is really, really important to all of us. And it's one of the reasons that we have been and always will be free at newsstands, because we want everyone to be able to pick us up and learn from us.
Get access to it. So what does the audit mean? Is that a third party that reads and sees if like you're biased or what, or what's that mean?
It's not as much about coverage. It's a third party that audits us and audits our delivery more than anything. So, which again sounds like it may not be that important, but to advertising agencies and to other organizations that look at and compare newspapers, the fact that we're audited and we're the only news gathering organization in town that is audited by one of these third-party sites, when we say, we print 25,000 copies each week, we reach X number of
I get
people.
it.
Wow.
So they audit not just where we're being delivered, but how many people are reading each copy. They also ask people questions like, does the Independent influence your buying decisions? And so we can go out to advertisers like you, not you guys because you're one of our favorites because you're in the paper every single week, but if we have a company who says, why should you advertise with us, we can answer those questions.
That's great. Yeah, so it's for the local businesses to really feel like this is a great way to direct their marketing dollars. And with all that community engagement, you're constantly, even like you said, it's not like it's a huge moneymaker, but that synergy around the community it creates opens up new opportunities for people like, I want to get into the independent, I want to be a part of Burrito Week next year, whatever, like the ones that are in it and had great success are like, I'm going to keep doing this. So you're building like great relationships through those community kind of organized events that coincide with the week of the paper that comes out and kind of gives it a subject. So brilliant, I think, really.
It does. And one other thing I'll mention is that it also shows us that 7 out of 10 readers, let's see, I might get this stat wrong without notes, but most readers read most of our issues. So most readers will read 3 out of 4 issues. So say you do, you're an advertiser and you're trying to decide, do I run a small ad every week or do I just do one and done? Unless you're promoting an event that's only held once, it is important to be in all the time because people read us often.
It's their routine.
Yeah.
It's part of their weekly routine.
Yeah. A lot of people tell me, I walk down to wherever, to the Daily Grind every morning, every Thursday, and
get
pick
my
up the
drink
paper.
and get the paper and start flipping through and start reading. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it many a times, hundreds of times, I think, in my lifetime. That exact same thing you're talking about. So.
Yeah. For me, it's my dog walk. Dog walk early in the morning, and sometimes I'm too early, and I go, oh no, the papers aren't here yet. But yeah.
Amazing. And so, the real estate section, how long has that been around now? Maybe 10 years or
a little more. Like I said, I started in 2014. One of the first things I said when I started was we need a more robust real estate section. I've had relationships with a lot of the brokers and realtors in town for many years. And so we started the real estate section in 2015. And we started it with a couple of guidelines. We wanted all of the content in it to be local because at that time, and I'll just keep using the name, at that time the news press had a print Sunday real estate section, but they were running a lot of content that was syndicated, so they would accidentally run articles about cleaning the snow out of your gutters or something like that.
Right.
So we wanted it to all be Santa Barbara, and so we have, I write a column, and then we have a team of other freelancers who are all either interior designers or other people in town that want to share their knowledge. And so all of the information is local. We keep our advertising prices low so that, like you said, if you guys have a new listing and you want to promote it, not only is your seller probably going to say, hey, I want one of those full pages in the Independent, but our prices are low so that you can do that. And we really try to work with, like you said, work with the realtors in town so that we make sure we're doing what we can and what we need to keep the section really robust.
Nice.
And then and several members of my staff and I work with the Association of Realtors too. I'm on a couple of their committees, and we help promote the events and things that are coming up because, and I know you guys are super involved too, the association holds fundraisers for different nonprofits in town, and all of that is super important to us, and we want to help the real estate community in town be able to tell their story.
So that's one of the things I love, besides just keeping tabs on the inventory and the marketing that my colleagues are doing and everything and getting ideas and everything, but like hearing those other stories, those behind the scenes stories, like real estate professionals are humans and they're out there doing stuff that's community oriented, and so it's really great to cover that side of the real estate business.
So I will tell you a couple things that are going to be in this week's paper. One is an interior design article, and it's all about how to design your baby's room. It's just super, super sweet, and I have glanced through it and seen the photos, and that's sweet. But I also wrote an article. One of your colleagues, Jeff Owen, has a listing that is a manufactured home that happens to belong to a couple that I've known for 40 years. And so I went and walked through the house with Jeff, standing out in front of the house with Jeff, and I mean, you guys know him. He is a gem, and we were comparing notes because I've been in this business for 40 years. He's been in this business for 42 years, and he is just so passionate about why he's a realtor, about the integrity of your profession, and about the fabric of the community and what it means. It's so moving, and for me, I love architecture and design. I am not a realtor, but I feel like I've grown up side by side with you guys and seen and heard these stories, and you have such an impact on people who are looking for their homes. It's the biggest purchase of their lives, and so it's super heartwarming for me. You can tell I love my job.
Yeah.
I love.
We
We're
love
super
Jeff,
grateful to have. I feel like you're at every like SBOR event. You're at open houses. Like you really go above and beyond, and you might not have the title of realtor, but you're basically in the community with us in the real estate world for sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Honorary realtor.
I love it. I love it. And a lot of people think that real estate is advertising is what I do, but nope. I have a meeting tomorrow with Sutter Health and a meeting next week with UCSB Arts and Lectures. So I'm everywhere, but
all of them.
I do have a special passion for real estate.
Yeah, amazing. Well, it's been really phenomenal to get to know more about what you do and what's behind the Independent, our favorite newspaper here in town. What do you think, Avi?
Yeah, we'll link the Independent's website in all the show notes if you've never checked it out before. I mean, you guys even have an amazing online presence, and for people that want to follow you on social media, I'll include the links there. But yeah, the paper, basically any coffee shop, any public library, you guys are everywhere. So if you haven't read it before, check them out.
And independent.com is our website. Almost 1 million page views every month. So yeah.
You don't have to be in Santa Barbara to read like a local. Go on their website and do it, and you could stay up to speed with everything going on behind the scenes here in Santa Barbara. It's a really great spot to get plugged in.
Thanks for coming on, Sarah.
Thanks.
You're the best.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, really nice to see you. Thanks,
too.
Sarah.
Okay, this is the segment of the show where we get to review all the restaurants that we've tried, and it's not just new restaurants coming up. Joe had a really cool kind of local insider find that as kind of at a famous restaurant. You want to tell us about that?
Well, I was my dad was in town, and he loves to go to Brophy Brothers, and about 3 months ago, I went vegetarian with my diet, and if you know Brophy Brothers, seafood galore. So I was wondering, what am I going to be able to eat at Brophy Brothers? But we pulled up and bellied up to the bar, beautiful seat, looking at the harbor and everything. And they actually have a couple of great options. They had this black bean burger, but what really caught my eye was their cauliflower burger. And it was amazing on a brioche bun. They had some crispy onions, this like a sriracha aioli on it, and it was deep fried slice of cauliflower. It almost looked like a chicken sandwich, and it was phenomenal. I got it with their famous Brophy salad. It was a killer meal. So don't be afraid if you're vegetarian. Don't be afraid of Brophy Brothers. They definitely have a couple of killer options for you that taste delicious.
It's an awesome little find because I would have never thought to hit Brophy's if someone vegetarian was asking me where they go. That wouldn't be on my list, but now I know.
Now you know. It's definitely delicious.
A couple other shout outs. My cousin was in town this weekend and week. And so it was fun to show him some new spots and kind of be a tour guide. We hit the Lilac Patisserie brunch right downtown, and that spot is so good. All of it, he was so surprised when I was like, oh yeah, also this place is completely gluten-free, as he's like demolishing his brunch, like toast, salmon, cream cheese, like a pastry, coffee. They have it all. Such a good brunch. You can sit outside. And yeah, the whole thing is gluten-free. So if you know someone in your family that's celiac, this place is like the gold mine for them. They can order whatever they want. They don't have to worry. Great eggs, great chicken sausage. I love sitting outside there, and I can just walk there from my house. It's awesome on the farmers market Saturdays when everyone's cruising around and their dogs are out. Another shout out for people, I don't know if you've been to Rare Society, you also make sure you gotta check out their happy hour. Their happy hour is from 4 to 6, and I think on Mondays from 4 to 6 they have $1 oysters, but we got so much different food. We got oysters, meatballs, we shared a burger, we got like beef skewers, we got, what else was there? Brussels sprouts. We had this huge spread. We had 2 really good like mocktails that were like chamomile, jasmine or something like that, kind of like a sparkling soda that was made in-house. And the whole tab at the end was like $120, and we went huge. We had like everything on the menu. Most of the items, like the burger's $20, the steak skewers are like $15, and most of the time if you're gonna go to Rare Society, if you're gonna go to their traditional menu route, it's a great food. It's solid portion sizes. It's really well done, but you're probably gonna spend $100 a person at least.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of fun sitting outside, just hitting the happy hour, and that was a really good experience.
Nice, fancy happy hour. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing also a tour of bean, rice, and cheese burritos around town. Just, the staple, standard, always delicious. And my favorite right now is Palapa. So I got to give a shout out to Palapa up at Hollister, near the 154 where it meets Hollister there. Really great patio dining. I think on the Friday nights they might have mariachi music, but That's been
Nice.
great. They have a cilantro green rice that's really good that they use. They also have a red rice, so if you want to try it, make sure you ask for the cilantro green rice. It's really good. But they have a bunch of other just traditional Mexican food. And one of the things when I was eating meat and fish before was their ceviche. Really good ceviche. Yeah, you gotta love that. And a little hot tip on ceviche. Um, put just this might sound weird, but put just a little bit of ketchup on the bite, and it just sends it to a whole nother level. That little sweet tomatoey is kind of a hot tip that I got from somebody. I tried it and it's delicious.
I haven't been to Palapa, and that's been there for how many years?
Long time.
20 plus,
Yeah,
maybe?
I think so.
I need to try that. And one other spot I haven't been there yet, but I'm going to be trying it next week, so I kind of wanted to give an early little shout out. It's brand new, Mannifatura. It's the sister restaurant oh gosh, dang it, what's the name of the sister restaurant? I'm not going to be able to remember right now, but basically it's restaurateurs. They have a spot downtown. They've opened the sister restaurant. This one's right on State Street. It's another kind of classy, vibey Italian restaurant. Pasta's all in house. It looks like they're importing cheese and meat and stuff straight from Italy. So I've heard that place is really good. They had like pop-ups, and now they finally opened up their wait list. And so you can book a reservation, and I'm going to try that out next week and be one of the first to hopefully give you the full scoop on the next podcast.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds really
Let's
good.
dive into where the real estate market is at. We are in the first part of November, and let's talk about stats. Let's talk about what you're seeing out there.
Yeah, if you have to buy, if you have to find a place to live and you've got the money, people are still happy to throw down and pay Santa Barbara pricing. We're seeing it. We're working with people that are in that position. But with that said, there's a lot of people that aren't in that need to buy. They want to buy, and I'm seeing them pump the brakes, kind of hold off, a little bit of wait and see. People are watching interest rates. They're watching property values. They're hoping that interest rates come down and property values come down so things get a little bit more affordable. And there are some indicators that maybe that's going to happen, which I think causes a lot of people to pause. And so what does that look like in our market? Well, we got more days on the market, right? The average number of days has increased. The number of listings has increased. The average sales price, especially when you take out Montecito and Hope Ranch, which can really sway the averages when you get some of those big pops to go, really has started to slide down. So good news for all of you that have been holding off, waiting for things to get a little more affordable. I don't know if it will ever be affordable in Santa Barbara, but things could be trending in a downward direction right now.
For sure. And I thought you made a really good point on one of our drive-along videos. I forget which one, if it was last week or which drive-along video, but you said a great indication of actual market softening before it hits the stat sheet is looking at a property that maybe is traded 2 or 3 years ago, and it tries to sell again, and it either doesn't sell or it sells for significantly less. I saw, a condo that had sold for $825 a year and a half ago, sell for $775. It's when it hasn't been renovated, it hasn't changed at all, and now the buyers are looking at it with a completely different perspective. And a lot of these sellers as well, if they don't need to sell their home, they don't want to take the loss for whether it's a second home or whether they live in there and they just want to move into something different. And those will never be reflected on the stats. And you made that point. I thought that was really well done. Looking at some of the stats, though, just for September, we saw that the average sale price for a single-family home was down 14% compared to 2024. Condos were down just 4%. The median price for houses were down 6% compared to 2024. And the average was up 1% that's the median. The median was up 1% for a condo. These are the statistics from September. We don't have the October statistics yet. They'll probably come in a week or so. The statistics lag a little bit, but it is the first time I feel like we've seen a significant average price drop for single-family homes. Cash sales have hovered about the same. That's at 37% for September. But then when we were looking at the year-to-date sales, we were seeing that the average was only down 2%, and for condos it was up 14%. And I think we were talking about in the drive along, the first 6 months of the year felt pretty on pace for continuing to grow, and it was kind of at the summer mark that we started to see things get a little skittish, right?
Yeah, really slowed down. A lot less buyers actively looking, a little more inventory starting to grow. And another thing, the market's got a lot of headwind in it right now, with just the anxiety and people have in general about things going on and what the future holds. But specifically for real estate, things like insurance really getting involved with people's transactions. So if you're getting a mortgage and you need to get fire insurance for your property, that insurer is now wanting to know how old is the roof, how old is the electrical panel. And if these things are, older than like 20 years, they're going to ask for you to replace them. So they're kind of hedging their bets that the things that we would have to pay on this house, we want them fixed before we give them insurance. And so all these things end up adding up to just more headwinds in the market, which equate to more chances for a deal to fall out. So once you go into escrow, you usually have a little bit of period there where you have time to do investigations, figure out your loan, do the appraisal, figure out your insurance. And during this time, we're seeing more fallout. That trend has started to grow to where we're getting above 25% of the deals end up canceling and you going back on the market, which is tough for the sellers because in real estate, when you go back on the market, that typically is a little bit of a devaluator. Like there's artificial devaluators when you're selling your home. Staying on the market for a long time artificially devaluates your home, and also going in and out of escrow one or two times can have a little negative impact on the value without, a real reason behind it other than the perception of these events being tied to the property.
For sure. And with inventory being at 3.91 months for supply in September, we're just seeing buyers have more options, which makes them feel like if they find something wrong in the home or if they have just a change of mind, they're way more likely to back out. Back in the crazy buying COVID times, it was like, if you're under contract, it's almost a blessing to just have an option to be able to buy a property. You're not going to back out unless things go really wrong. But right now, people feel like they have a lot of options, and the stats kind of relay that they do have a lot more options before. Just so you know, the inventory, the month supply, basically what that's saying is that in about 3.9 months, if no new homes came on the market and the average rate of transactions stayed the same, that's how long it would take for all the active inventory to get scooped up. So as inventory of month supply increases, it basically just means there's a lot more homes on the market compared to how many homes are selling.
Yeah. I've noticed too in multifamily, it's getting a little bit softer. Like there's less buyers. The buyers want a little more of a discount if they're going to take on the risk of multifamily because of all the different things we've talked about, things with insurance and whatnot. And also with tenant law really favoring tenants, things like, just cause evictions. So like if you have a good legal reason that you want to evict a client, or a tenant, maybe to sell the property or to remodel it, there's certain rules how much you have to pay them. Oftentimes it's 2 to 3 months rent. So you're either giving them the last 2 to 3 months free or cutting them a check. And sometimes people are even negotiating cutting even bigger checks. We heard of someone cutting like
it's 20K.
20K per tenant.
Well, yeah, I guess there's, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and they had, I think, 4 tenants to move out there, so they dropped $80,000 just to get the place cleared out so they could get it on the market. So some of these things have caused a little bit of slowdown in multifamily. This means also, in my mind, that there could be some opportunity there. Some sellers having a hard time, so an investor may be able to give them a clean offer so they can be done with it. So that could be a place for opportunity. I also read recently that State Street, we talked about State Street and whether or not should be open on the last podcast. If you didn't check that out, you want to look at that. But also, they're at a 2-year high on vacancies. I mean, it's a small tick up, and it's still relatively low. I think they have it clocked at just under 4%. But nonetheless, it's ticked up to the highest point it's been in 2 years. Again, a tricky place to have a successful business. Tough to make ends meet at the end of the day when you paid all your bills, especially after you paid that rent payment.
Okay, and next we wanted to jump into the Support Santa Barbara Biz Facebook group, the group that we created right during COVID that has now grown to north of 23,000 members, super active. If you're not a member of the group and you live in Santa Barbara or you love Santa Barbara, we would love to have you in the group. Just type in Support Santa Barbara Biz, and we always try to shout out people in the podcast and give people props who have been active in the group. So before this episode, I said, we wanted to feature some success stories from the group, and I wanted to read a couple. One is from Ashley Hayes. She says, my boutique on State Street, Asher Market, has used this page many times to let the community know when we need help, and people have come through each time. In fact, every time I hit a road bump in the community and need community support, I post here first. In fact, I'll be posting again soon. This community has been so helpful for years. Thank you for creating it. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Lisa Green. She says, I'm the organizer of the Santa Barbara Lavender Festival. I've never been to that. We got to hit that.
I think it's at City College.
Oh, sweet.
Up on the grass there.
I've utilized your platform and have successfully attracted exceptional vendors and a substantial number of attendees. We got to go check that out.
Definitely.
And last, Anna Amaral says, "Hi, I'm Anna, the owner of the Oakberry Acai food truck. I haven't hit the food truck, but I do like Oakberry for a quick acai bowl on the go. I made a post here in September and got so many responses. October was our best month of sales. Got so many great contacts and events. Would love to participate on the podcast." So we might be inviting some people to the podcast, but at least wanted to read some success stories and shout outs for all of you guys active. And this,
I got another one too. Rebecca Buell over at the boats out on Stearns Wharf, Celebration Cruises. They also operate the Little Toot. They have the electric boat you could rent for private parties or just like little get-togethers or just a little romantic cruise or something. That one has no motor, so it's real quiet. She's always posting in there like the coolest stuff, like, oh, we've got openings on the Sunset Cruise tonight, $20 tickets if you want to come down now, or even sometimes free ticket, hit me up, and you could jump on the boat. So super cool of her to jump in the group and share those opportunities that she has. So you definitely want to support her. If you ever want to get out on the water, check them out.
for sure. I'm going to link the group to wherever you're watching or listening to this, whether it's YouTube or it's Spotify or wherever you watch or videos and podcasts. And I'm also going to post this directly into the group so that everybody who's really active in the group, they can stay in touch and whatnot as well. And we love the group. Anytime you need a cool place to find a great contractor service person, as I saw that people were shouting out, where's the best place to get fish and chips? It's like whatever you need, go to the group. I swear it's there. Like they have everything.
Yeah, a lot of like little businesses too, little home bakers that are putting together like holiday cookies and stuff, and pies and cakes, and different handymen. And what I like too, besides just posting something I need, or if I had a great experience, like I could talk about that incredible cauliflower burger I had at Brophy Brothers. You could also just use it as a search engine, go in the group and use the hourglass or the magnifying glass and type in what you're looking for, like appliance repair or, new muffler for my 92 Honda or whatever it may be.
Yeah, this person's looking for a mechanic that specializes in Toyotas.
Yeah. So you could do a search and you'll see all the posts, and then you'll see a post like what you're looking for, and you could read all the comments and see, oh, this place has gotten recommended like 4 times. They must be legit, and that's a great way to kind of do some local studying of what the locals have to say.
And look at this. That post I was asking for Toyota tune-ups, 20 comments.
Nice.
So some people are repeating the same ones, some people saying different ones, but it's really got everything. And also just as a reminder, this is a really great group for collaboration. We just, sometimes there's people that are just constantly promoting their own stuff, and we just try to have everybody, you can promote your own stuff, but also try to maybe shout out another business or maybe give a recommendation in the comments. Because the key to making this group really collaborative is to make sure that everybody's kind of sharing.
That's right.
Just want to remind people that.
Yeah, that's a great.
Well, that's about it for me. This is episode 2. I love doing these podcasts with you, learning great insider tips. I feel like you have so much local knowledge for even me to gather up as I, been local here for 10, 11 years. But man, the Brophy Bros veggie sandwich would never have known, and I'm going to try it.
Yeah, you're going to love it. Yeah, so it has been great. We love doing these. We're going to get better and better at it. So thanks for watching and checking us out and supporting all the people that we're shouting out in this group and in this podcast. And if there's others that you want to talk about or others that you think deserve to get out here and tell their story, we'd love to hear from you. So definitely put it in the comments and reach out to us and let us know what's hot around town, what we should cover.
For sure. Thanks for subscribing. Whether you're on Spotify, you can subscribe there and comment there. Whether you're coming from YouTube, we try to read and respond to all the comments. It's kind of cool that Spotify even has a comment section now because we're used to doing responses on our YouTube channel. Just feel free to connect to us anywhere. If we can ever help you with your move, with your real estate needs, we're here to help. We're local real estate professionals, and we love this community. Feel free to give us, our next spots of where we should eat for recommendations. We love just kind of collaborating and getting your local insight. So
definitely. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.
See you in the next one, guys.
And listening.
Peace.